Afternoon. Welcome to the budget planning session or the budget hearing. We've got, I guess, Lee, is there 3 or 4 this afternoon?
We have four different presentations scheduled.
Okay. We do have, since it's a committee meeting, not all of the commissioners will be here. Some will be coming in as obviously getting ready for 4 o'clock. But since this is just a finance committee meeting, not everyone will be here. I want to say this. I've had questions about why did we kind of change up the request on the budgets? Why did we ask for 3 buckets? And I will say this. I think we owe it to ourselves as being ambassadors of the taxpayers' money to make sure that that we're spending wisely. And even though this is the funding agent, we approve the bottom line. To me, the challenge is how do we make sure that we're all kind of on the same page? And I brought a little reminder that I put up here. Can y'all see what this is? It's the Sears catalog from 1993. And in 1993, when Sears had this catalog out, I'm sure they didn't think about where they would be in 2026. And in my prior world, we were constantly reminded that if you don't keep up with things, you don't keep up with technology, you don't keep up in the world you're relevant with, then somebody else is going to take over. Now, I don't see another sheriff's office taking over, but I do see that, we can make sure that we're spending wisely. So that's the reason that I've asked for 3 buckets, because number one is what is your investment in, and what's your investments? What are you hanging your hat on? Number 2, what are you holding the line with? And then number 3, what are you transitioning from? And I promise you, almost every department in Hamilton County can transition from something. I got the opportunity Monday to meet Sheriff and his finance guru and talk through some of these items. And I tell you, it's really excited to see firsthand of what they're going to be presenting this afternoon. So with that said, Madam Clerk, I don't guess we need to do a roll call or anything. We just go right into it. Is that correct? All right, good deal. So we will turn it over to the high mighty Sheriff, Austin Garrett.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Provided a PowerPoint I'll walk through with you to talk to you about our ask for this fiscal. So the following pages will contain our 26-27 fiscal operations budget increase and capital outlay ask. The primary drivers for the increase is compensation, technology, and rising service costs. Your sheriff's office focuses on professionalism, customer service, innovation, cost control, restructuring, and grant strategies in our budgeting process and services we provide. The presentation contains organizational unit level highlights for key increases, decreases, and reallocations. Our total increase ask is 4.8% increase over last year's fiscal. That equates to a $3.42 million increase in operating budget. And you'll see there's an additional $791,508 capital outlay increase request. So again, our 3 main investment areas are our people, our talent, our technology, and rising service costs. Sheriff's Office is holding the line on total full-time staffing numbers at 500. I'll walk back with you. You'll remember that at one time the Sheriff's Office was at 544 employees. And when I came into office, we did some very innovative things with pay, freezing positions, and things of that nature. We've continued to hold the line on that at 500. So we've got 44 positions that we have no intentions of filling right now. We have shifted our focus as far as positions within the office, using restructuring, part-time support, and reallocation to manage our demands. Our capital outlay ask is focusing primarily on vehicle replacements with a smaller share for technology replacements. Next slide gives you a breakdown of the percentage of the ask. So approximately half of the increase ask is tied to funding the pay matrix and overall employee pay increases. Going back 2019, pay matrix was first approved by county commission. And that's a very vital tool for professional law enforcement agencies for recruitment and retention for employees. The men and women you see behind me representing the office with me here today. Approximately a quarter of the increase ask is tied to the drone UAS program and related technology needs, including emergency management devices. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this on another slide, but Director Adams is here with emergency management. Tremendously great partner in this program with us, has been for several years. We'll talk about their devices as well as a partner. The remaining quarter of the increase ask addresses rising service costs such as jail medical, maintenance agreements, facility maintenance, and fleet repair parts. Investment or people. We're not seeking additional full-time positions. Instead, we're highlighting backfill management, restructuring, and increased use of part-time support. Restructuring examples for this fiscal prior to the new budget being approved, we've been able to add 14 correctional deputies. We're standing up an additional patrol district on the east side of the county and redrawing the patrol districts due to growth that expands from Appleton to Birchwood to allow us better response times and coverage. We're also adding a traffic investigator position. But again, we're doing this with no additional funding. We're doing it with money this body already gave us in previous budgets. Again, we focus on critical needs, and the way we look at this is kind of contrary to government in general. Government has a tendency to grow. I just went off. To grow rather than to stay the same or shrink at all. So we do things a little bit different than most government bodies. So the compensation priorities is fund the pay matrix for sworn personnel. Good many of those people are here behind me today. Fund advancements for civilian personnel, incredibly important. Some of those important representatives are here today representing the civilian staff that get the job done at the sheriff's office every day. Provide overall pay increases to remain competitive for recruiting and backfilling, and additional funding for part-time staff. One good note about part-time staff, and we've got them several places in the sheriff's office. I had a vision and created a part-time transport staffing model with firefighters. So we have 6 Chattanooga firefighters. I like to say they're getting to experience their lifelong dream of being a police officer as well. But they do a tremendously great job, as I knew they would, in judicial services and transporting inmates for us. They're driven by tactics, and they save lives every day. So naturally, they're a great fit for us. Investing in technology and rising service costs. So technology, we're going to expand into this drone portion. The program began in 2016. We were one of the first agencies in this region to have a formalized team. And it's a vital life-saving and productivity enhancing tool. Recent legal challenges or changes at the state and federal level pushed the need for a high-level vendor partner, and that's a key driver for this budget. So the state legislature and the federal government banned the use of Chinese-made drones. A product by the name of DJI is one of the most used in law enforcement and public safety, and that's the device that we had and still use. As of the day that law went into effect, you could not replace those. You could continue to use them, but as they fall off out of your inventory, you cannot replace those. Sheriff's office at one time had 28. We're down to 9. And I think Chief has 4. So he has 4. We're at a point that we have to pursue this technology. And over the last year, we've identified a key partner who is partnered with Axon, who we have a fantastic relationship with. They provide our body cameras, our in-car camera systems, our taser technology. And the drone product that they have is fantastic. It's tip of the spear, in my opinion. Now's the time we have to pursue this, and that's the reason it was added to the budget. To give you some statistics, the sheriff's office has had over 5,500 total flights with their drone program, over 900 total flight hours, over 500 training flights, over 750 tactical operational support flights. We've located 30 plus people with this technology. That's the most important data that I can give you is 30 people, whether they're a suspect who's wanted or they're someone's missing loved one. This technology found them, and you can't put a price on someone's family member and a life. Service cost pressures, jail medical cost increases, hardware and software maintenance agreement inflationary increases, facility maintenance and general vehicle fleet repair due to inflationary cost increases. Without additional funding, service cuts could be a real possibility in some areas. We'd have to make critical decisions on that. So how we're holding the line, 5 specific areas. Reallocate funding. Sheriff's Office regularly conducts internal financial reviews, ensuring we allocate our resources to the areas of highest need. Number 2, use technology to innovate. We're modernizing processes and transitioning away from outdated workflows. Managing staff turnover carefully. We use backfilling decisions and reorganization to reduce the need for new positions. Pursue grants. I employ a full-time grants manager who's incredible at her job. We work to supplement building improvements, programs, vehicles, and even construction. She's currently annually managing over $8 million in grant funding and all of the critical reporting needs that come with each of these grants. Number 5, consolidate operations, combining locations. Commissioners will remember that we've been working on that for about 3 years. I'm consolidating operations to close buildings and get people into single facilities. Services and functions to gain efficiency. Examples targeting the training facility this coming year, which is grant funded as well. Shifting to capital outlay request. The additional capital is needed for vehicle replacements and technology refresh. Grant funding has tremendously helped supplement vehicle purchases, but recent historical funding levels are insufficient to maintain our fleet. Sheriff's Office has received $1.4 million in capital annually in recent years, but we're falling short, and the need is actually $2 million per year. I won't go through these last 2 slides, but we're providing you with this so you can look through that yourself for the org codes for each. Bottom line, this is a targeted investment in public safety. It's not a broad expansion. Operating ask is 4.8% increase centered on pay, technology, and unavoidable service cost growth. Capital is additional funding is needed for fleet replacement to stay current on vehicles. Our message, budgeting with an operational focus on professionalism, customer service, innovation, holding staffing numbers, restructure and consolidate, use of grants, and keep modernizing our operations. In summary, the ultimate return on investment for dollars budgeted to your sheriff's office is enhanced quality of life and public safety, both of which are reflected in the reduction of crime and the excellent delivery of law enforcement services your sheriff's office consistently provides. We're also providing you today with a copy of this year's statistical report. You'll note in there there's been a 20% reduction in crime in Hamilton County this past year because of them. Thank you.
Okay. Good job. 20% reduction. It's awesome. Outstanding. Any questions from the commission? Mr. Gray?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going through your proposal as you were talking, so I am paying attention. I'm just not looking at you, sorry.
Yes, sir.
In the salary raises, can you give me a percentage? What are you proposing to raise your deputies this year? What percentage?
Depending on what this body allocates, that'll go into our matrix to address,
Well, I
any
mean,
compression
what
in the
you're asking
matrix.
for today?
What we're asking for today, Ron, have you got it? It was at 4%. Yeah, it's 4. Yeah, go ahead.
We figured in a 4%.
4%, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all.
Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Howell.
We appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Question here for Lee. Lee, when you look at some of their lines and some of our lines, how can we, I don't know, this is probably the $1.1 billion question. How can we get everybody to line up so that when they turn budgets in, it rolls into, reconciles better? Thank you, Commissioner.
I guess I'd have to see their lines because again, we have everything we fit into the budget is every department has different expense codes that all will tie in and they all feed into these numbers that are here. So I guess I'd have to see, the sheriff might be using some of their internal records, or I'd have to see what numbers are not tying, but I hate to be kind of as if I'm in charge, but ours are the official public records, the official public financial documents. So they are audited, but we're open to looking how the sheriff's doing things if they're accounting for it differently, but they should all be using our numbers.
I think if you look at the top line, is it on the screen up here? I would promise you that administrative services is not $1.5 million increase.
Well, again, how that is with their pay plan that they've switched into, they don't show raises and salary increases by specific department. They are just looking, and Ron could go more in depth of how he calculates it, but the reason for that big $1.5 million increase is primarily promotional money or raises that are built in for the sheriff that will be spread throughout every employee. And so a lot of that will be allocated to patrol and to share and to jail, et cetera.
Well, patrol's the line below it and it's only 309,000.
Yes,
So that's where I stand back and go, well, why is administrative getting this and patrol's getting this? So
again, administrative includes promotions and raises for all employees that are working throughout every one of these different cost centers for the sheriff.
for me, I just think I want some clarity on it because I wouldn't want to send a message out to my team that my administrative services is getting a bigger piece of the pie than where the boots meet the ground. So. Okay, Commissioner Hilton.
Yeah, I was just gonna piggyback what you were saying. It sure would be nice just to have a separate line for those items. You know, how our media outlets will get a hold of something and they'll start chewing on it. So. yeah.
May I address that a
Yes,
little
go
bit?
ahead.
So our numbers tie directly back to what is provided. So we don't come up with any different numbers. So that the front slide you had, our numbers tied directly to what was given to us from finance. And to your point, the reason administrative services looks out of whack is we have no mechanism in the budget interface to budget those salaries, promotions in each organizational code. So we have to, the only place we can put it is in one organizational code. But
that's
all of our numbers tie back directly to what we were given.
But you don't do it like that yourself.
No, we spread it. We spread it out.
And see, to me, it looks like there'd be a better way to somehow or another.
Well, and if I could add, this issue you're seeing here is unique to the sheriff's office. They have their own pay plan, they have their own matrix. All the other budgets you'll be seeing are all on the same county pay plan. And so you will not see something different than this. This is in some ways square peg fitting into a round hole, with the sheriff operating with their own separate pay matrix. And again, you will not see this in any other department.
I'm just thinking of the simplicity, how we make it, for the future. So, okay. I see no more other lights. Mr. Shipley, you good?
Sure. That's a big deal.
Good deal. Sheriff, thank you and your team. You got a great team out there, no doubt. So
Oh.
thank you all for what you all do. You're an amazing team. I was at church Sunday morning and walked up to a round patch and was bragging on you guys. So they don't know what that means. So.
Yeah, well, thank y'all. Budget's never easy for commissioners or the mayor's office, and finance has the hardest job of everybody I know because Ron has a hard job. But I think this body, our office and rest of county government is probably the most fiscal conservative that I know in government. Like I said, we've held the line. We try to do that, but we don't hold the line on delivering the services every day to the taxpayers of this county. That's reflected in that report and the men and women sitting behind me that reflect the rest of the agency. I'm just proud to serve alongside them.
Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you. See you.
Thanks.
Oh.
Appreciate your comments last week too, as well. The clarity that you had during the meeting last week. So appreciate that.
Yeah, Commissioner, can I make one more general comment?
Absolutely.
Again, unique to the sheriff's office, they have allocated a proposed salary increase for employees into their pay plan. The rest of the presentations you'll be seeing in these initial budget hearings will show no adjustment for pay increases that the county may or may not be able to have. So there will be, basically the numbers you'll be seeing will be as if there was a 0% raise, which may or may not be the case when we ultimately determine how much monies are available for salary increases for county employees. The other piece that these numbers do not have is any potential adjustment to employee benefits that may end up being necessary, which will be primarily for health insurance costs. So anyway, that's just a preface to the rest of the discussions we'll be having throughout
Okay.
here.
Commissioner Highlander, Jefferson.
So just very briefly, I want to say that a lot of constituents in my area, the northeast, east end of the county, are very appreciative of the new outpost. It is quite far. Some of our deputies live out there and they understand how far it is to go. But thank you, several of, and Ooltewah, Georgetown, Appleton, Birchwood, they've all appreciated that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, the Sheriff's Office. Great job. Okay, we'll move into the Public Defender's Office. Hey, Mr. Smith? Floor
Commissioner,
is
thank
yours.
you for having me today. It's always a pleasure to come up and visit with you, especially when I'm asking for money, but I come with my hat in my hand. We'd like to take a little bit of credit for some of that 20% crime decrease in that we participate in the recovery courts and created the mental health court in Hamilton County and are proud to participate in the new Veterans Court in both sessions in criminal court. We find that when we find folks accused of breaking the law, when we find whatever problem it is that they need resolved in their lives, if we can do that in some way and we can help in some way, they typically reoffend at a great lesser rate. We appreciate what the sheriff does too. I have 4 children live in this community. I think we have a good sheriff's office. I think I'm proud to be the public defender. I was a prosecutor for a very long time. Feel strongly about what we do. And I'm coming today to give an ask for this next year's budget at 1.361223. That's a 4.14% increase. The difference from last year to this year is $54,164. I know that pales in comparison to most agencies that you're looking at. The vast majority of that $54,000 is salary increases tied to the state legislature's pay scale for lawyers. We have several county lawyers on the payroll. You guys are good enough to give us some money to augment our role that's primarily a state role, just like you do for the prosecutors. We try to keep our county lawyers paid at the same rate as the state lawyers, so we don't have redheaded stepchildren employees. It's better for morale. Many years when we don't have to ask for an increase, it's because we have money that we can cannibalize within the budget because we have lower paid lawyers. We typically try to do that. Out of all the lawyers at my office, I try to keep the lowest paid ones on the county payroll. And as they mature and go up in the pay scale, when a position comes open that's a state position, we put them into that state position so that the ask is lower for the county, because I do believe that prosecution and defense is primarily a state function. We haven't had as much turnover in the last couple of years, so I haven't been able to do that as much. Again, I'm happy to ask for a 4.14% increase that's primarily salary. The only other part, the cost to be a lawyer went up in Tennessee this year from $170 per lawyer to $270 per lawyer. That's a fringe benefit we pay on behalf of our lawyers. In the grand scheme of lawyer pay, district attorney and prosecutor pay is very low on the totem pole. Starting pay is about $65,000 a year. If you went to a firm, you'd be in the 6 figures. So to be competitive and trying to lure talent and to frankly get people to do this job of representing a lot of folks you guys wouldn't want to have over for dinner requires some thinking out of the box, and we try to do that the best that we can. In terms of the questions that you've asked, what are we holding the line on? That's the number of positions. We haven't asked for an extra position in Hamilton County in quite a good while. I typically wait on the district attorney to do that. And as you all are probably aware, there's a statute that when you give her more money, we get a percentage of that increase, and that makes sense. So I typically don't try to ask for more positions. I wish I could say that the job was the same as it was last year, but it's not. The prosecutors are doing a great job. Cody's hired a lot of really good lawyers. She was a public defender. She got to practice against prosecutors and see who the good ones were and who the good ones weren't. And then she's hired a lot of excellent folks. We're trying more cases because the prosecutors are wanting to try more cases. So of the 7,500 or so clients that we're appointed to in Hampton County every year, I mean, basically the population of Collegedale, we do the best we can with the few lawyers that we have to make sure that their representation is constitutionally permissible. And you know, we've gotten some wins lately. You probably don't want to hear about them. The news probably doesn't want to hear about them, but I appreciate the opportunity to come up and make this ask, and I appreciate the opportunity to make myself available for your questions. The second part, what are we maintaining? Well, I think I just said that. What's the increase in budget request? I've already talked about that too. What are you transitioning from within the budget? We really aren't. Our duties are the same. Our budget is almost all salaries. And with inflation and the cost of living, especially cost of living in Chattanooga, you know, it's the same pay across the state for all public defenders and district attorneys. As you can imagine, that pay goes further in Sequatchie County or White County. So when you ask lawyers to come to Hamilton County and the cost of living is quite a bit more, it's just even more difficult to try to get those folks here. But again, we're proud of what we've done, and thank you for the assistance that you've provided to our office.
Okay. See if you got any questions. Yeah. No lights, no questions. Great job. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Superman.
Good afternoon, everybody. How
I
y'all
tried to
doing?
stop him Monday and he was running with tennis shoes in his hand.
That's right. Patricia, could you hand these out for me there? How's everyone doing this afternoon?
Good.
Good.
Now, did you hear my speech earlier about the 3 buckets? Everybody's supposed to come with 3 buckets.
I'm sorry, I couldn't, what was that?
Did you hear my saying earlier about the 3 buckets?
What was that, sir?
But everybody's supposed to come with 3 buckets, and here's why. You know what this is?
Yes, sir, I did hear that. Yes, sir.
You know what
I do know what that
Steers
is.
Roebuck catalog?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, one time this was a
That was it.
great invention,
Yes, sir.
right?
That's
This was
correct.
in 1993.
That's correct.
Look at where they are today.
That's exactly right.
So,
We
we
learned a
got
lot.
taxpayers to think
We-
of the same thing.
There's things we learned during COVID that I never thought we would see in the court system. I never thought we would have hearings by video. So we've seen that a lot in the court system too. So had to learn to evolve a lot. My name's Sean Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of Courts. I'm here to talk about 3 budgets today, 2 of them pretty quick. I talked to Mr. Browner about this morning. One of the budgets I'm going to talk just briefly about is our General Sessions Court budget. If you look at our budget this year compared to last year, it shows that we're asking for $105,000 less, which is great news for everybody. The reason for that is we've done some restructuring. One of the ladies that works for us, Katie Raines, who is our civil court coordinator, she was in that budget last year, and we've moved her to a different budget this year. That budget is the other budget I want to talk to you about. It looks like I'm asking for $91,000. I'm not, but we're just moved her around to a different budget code. So it's really a wash. The great news about that is that the Community Foundation of Greater Chattanooga has agreed to give us a grant for next year to cover that budget. They did it last year, and we will be coming in front of the commission to announce that later this year. So that is great news to me that we have funding to cover her salary for that. Our big ask this year is with my new recently role I've taken on with the circuit court judges. When I first took this on, Judge McVeigh had made me aware of a weighted case study that the comptroller's office was going to be, they've been doing for the last 3 years, that looks at every circuit court across the whole state. And so with that being said, I've got a packet there we'd like for y'all to look at, and I'm going to let Judge McVeigh talk about it for a little bit. Judge McVeigh is the presiding judge for circuit court. I'm going to let him explain some of that, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions y'all might have after that. Okay.
You are?
Good afternoon. Alex McVeigh, 625 George Avenue. I have with me Judge Peck and Judge Bennett as well, our circuit court judges, my colleagues. It's an honor to be the presiding judge this year. And with that, after a year and a half on this job, certainly Judge Bennett could speak to this probably a bit more than I could, but it became clear very early on in my last year and a half that I thought I was going from a high volume court, General Sessions Court, my previous role, to a lower volume court where I would not necessarily be in court quite so much and would have a lot of time in my chambers to work on all of our written orders and opinions that have to go down. It was a little bit of a shock to me that I pretty much could bring a pillow to the bench on any given day, very similar to a Sessions Court, and we are in court all day long, and that was a bit of a surprise to me. And in looking at our dockets, I certainly understood that the volume in circuit court over the last few years has increased exponentially, and it was not a surprise when the weighted caseload study was released a couple weeks ago, and it actually showed that we are underjudged by a judge and a half. Meaning that to do the work that it takes to do the work that we do across the state on average, we could actually use a whole additional judge and a half. Some counties, as you'll see on that last page of the report Sean handed you up, some counties have too many judges for the workload that they have. Some are just right, and we are towards the bottom as far as a need. Now, we are state court judges, so we are certainly not coming to you to ask for additional judges to do our work. But what we are asking for in this budget request, and Sean can talk more, are some staff assistance to potentially save the taxpayers dollars. So instead of going to the state and asking for additional judges, having our state legislators and the AOC try to get us additional judges, we were elected to do this job, and we want to do it as best as we can. But it would certainly be helpful for us, similar to some of our equally sized counterparts across the state, to have some staff assistance to be able to help us write the orders, get cases moving, assist us. And you may not know this, but when we rule, we don't get to just rule from the bench all the time. We actually have to put all of our rulings down in a written order. And so what we're asking for are two positions to assist the 4 circuit court judges, to assist us in preparation for trial, to assist us in drafting orders, to assist us in moving cases along in our circuit courts. Sometimes you may hear that a divorce might take too long, that kids are in limbo waiting for a case to come to conclusion. Well, part of that might be is you simply cannot get a court date potentially in my court for a certain number of months because of the sheer volume of cases that we have. Also, you might get to have a trial, but ultimately you're waiting on the judge to put down our final order. And again, I can't be working on an order in my chambers if I'm also out in court all day long. And so again, this is hopefully a request that would mirror some of our counterparts. And if you actually take a look at some of the first page of the packet, for example, a place like Davidson County, they actually have, let's see, if you will turn, Davidson County will actually have multiple staff employees that are paid for by the county, by the metro, to assist them. They have certain judges that only handle domestic cases, and each of those domestic judges have 5 employees that assist them. But places like Rutherford County, Williamson County, every circuit court judge typically has a staff person, a law clerk that's paid for by the county, as well as a staff person that is paid for by the state. And we have never come to ask for staff assistance in our circuit courts, but obviously the weighted caseload study demonstrated and exhibited what I know I felt this last year and a half, and I am certainly very grateful to be in this position. But I think that this is a request that would assist the citizens of Hamilton County, making sure that their cases that they are experiencing justice, they're getting their cases, they're moving their cases along, and there's not an unnecessary delay. And so that is our request. Again, we are state judges that do get one state employee. Our state employee, we would certainly be willing to try to position the higher paid staff employee to be paid for by the state, similar to Steve Smith, what he just mentioned, and have a lower staff position be the one paid for by the county. And so we are certainly open to those options to, again, try to save Hamilton County taxpayer dollars if you do in fact give us these positions. But again, I just wanted to be up here to point out this weighted caseload study. The comptroller tries to do it, I think, every 10 years across judicial districts, but they pretty much weighted out the caseload of cases in these circuit courts across the state. And as I expected, we could use about another judge and a half. So we're not asking for that. We are trying to be more conservative and asking for something that could assist us in doing our job and making sure we can serve the citizens of Hamilton County. And I'll turn it back over to Sean.
Couple of the questions you brought up, you want us to ask. I know this is also in circuit court, in sessions court. Every year the law changes. Our staff over there, we keep getting asked to do more and more work, and we don't ask for more people. So we can continue to evolve that way. I think one of the things about the court system, I always try to, I want everybody to have an enjoyable experience in the court system. I want it to be done in a timely manner. Most time when you're up here in the court system, it's usually not a good place to be. So we try to make it as least stressful experience as can be. So we don't come up here often asking for anything, but I thought it was important looking at this weighted case study that the comptroller put out there to let you know what other counties are doing and just kind of present that to y'all. So that's our ask this year.
Lee, is my calculation right? It's about an 8% increase? 8.3.
Yes, sir.
So that 8% is into two people or that and
That's it.
increases?
That would just be for those two people.
Okay.
I think that
you
would,
got-
I think that would help greatly instead of asking for 4 to get in line with these other counties. We're not asking for 4, we're asking for 2. If we were going to be like Rutherford County, we'd be up here asking for 4, an assistant for each judge. Or Williamson County, we'd be at, so we're just asking for 2.
Okay.
It's
All right.
not a big ask.
Anybody has any questions after this, please
don't-
feel free to reach out to us,
Okay.
okay? Thank y'all
I don't
again.
see any more lights. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honors. Okay, up next is juvenile court.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I feel like I've been here maybe more than I would like to have been here the last little bit asking you all for money, but here we are again. I'm Keith Grant. Of course, I'm the administrator of the juvenile court. I've been there about 8 months, so I'd ask you all to show me a little bit of grace. I'm still getting the hang of some of this budget stuff, but I think I've got a pretty good grasp of it. We're asking, as you can see, for 141,000 in an increase, and that's in operating cost. Some really very low on operating costs. That's primarily salaries. And that's also across 6 different divisions. The 2 primary divisions for the salary increase are the main division, that's our 610, and that's the juvenile court judge. And I'll talk about kind of what we do there here in just a minute. The second large increase for salaries primarily is in the detention center. And so I think doing some quick math, just on our operation and salary cost, it's less than a 1.5% increase overall. Those numbers that you see up there also, let me point out, are a little bit skewed because that 10-10-630, that's juvenile court 4D administration, about 66% of that is actually covered by a state grant. So that number is not actually going to be what comes out of the county's budget. The Safe Baby Court, that $195,000 that you see, that is completely a state grant. There's $136 is what I've included that would actually come out of the county budget. Otherwise, that's, like I said, completely encapsulated or paid for by a state grant. CASA also, we get at least a $40,000 grant, and that's the 10-10-660. Last year, we got a $45,000 grant. So those numbers aren't what really comes out of the county's budget. For the capital outlay, that 450, 100 of that is for improving the audiovisual in 3 of our courtrooms in the main courthouse. You all helped us to do that. 85,000 was to get Judge Phil-Y'all's courtroom up to date. The other 3 courtrooms, because of what we did there, they can piggyback off of some of that AV technology. And so we think for $100,000, we can get the remaining 3 courtrooms done in the main courthouse. And so that'll give us all the evidence presentation equipment. So we'll have the, like what used to be an overhead, some recording devices and some of that. That should get us really basically up to today's technology in those 3 courtrooms. And it's really needed. We're really behind. Right now, we're still really in the 1990s as far as presentation of evidence goes. As to the salaries, and let me talk a little bit about kind of what juvenile court does, because frankly, I didn't know everything until I came over there. In the 610, that's the juvenile court judge division, we actually have 5 separate areas. So we have an IFS, we have informal, we have probation, we have mediation services, and then we have volunteer services. IFS is a division that if people come in and so grandchild is in trouble and they need to get grandchild out of wherever house they are, or child is in trouble, They come in and talk to our IFS folks, and our IFS folks walk them through the system. We have 8 employees there. I think we could probably have 20 and still be overworked. Not only do we have a high caseload there, our folks are dealing with people who it's really not their best day. If they're worried about their kids getting hurt, they're stressed. And so our folks have to deal with that. They also have to input everything for court and for the state data. And so not only do they have to deal with the emotional stuff, they have to be very detail oriented and getting everything inputted. Our informal adjustment, what that is if you have a kid who, maybe they're not going to school as much as they should be, or they're mouthing off more than they should be to adults, people can come in and help instead of actually going through the actual court system where they would actually have a juvenile record. We can informally kind of get them through a system and hopefully get them on the straight and narrow without any more formal options or without any more formal proceedings. Of course, once again, you're dealing with kids. It's a stressful job. Our probation is what it sounds like. If kids are adjudicated, then they have to be watched by probation. And so our probation officers deal with those kids and their families. Oftentimes, again, tempers, things happen there, especially if they think a kid's going to go off to juvenile because they violated probation. The others, mediation is just a way we kind of help keep the court clear. We send folks to mediation. Our mediation services division tries to hit that on the front end. And so that way it keeps our courts from bogging down on some of these, especially on just the parenting plan issues. And then lastly, our volunteer services. We have a lot of volunteers. We have CASA. We have the Foster Care Review Board. Those help watch out for the interest of kids. And those volunteers actually prevent us from having to appoint attorneys to watch out for these kids. Those volunteers actually come into court and help out, or they watch the foster care kids to make sure they're not, that they're in good shape. And so we have a volunteer services group that actually helps oversee those volunteers. And so those are really the buckets. We also have, of course, court officers and then administrative staff. What we're asking for, that primary ask of 117 is roughly a 5% increase in salaries. And I've done that across the board. So I basically took everybody's current salary, 5% of that, added that up and put the total amount in there. We did have a salary increase a few years ago, but it was was heavily weighted toward the lower salaries. What I want to do is bring everybody's salary up by 5% because we have some of our employees. We have one lady who's college educated. She's been there 20 years and she's making just at the median of Tennessee salaries for someone with a college degree. She's making just over the median for Hamilton County salaries. And of course, she's making well under the median for some of the other local salaries that would be comparable. And so I'm trying to bring all of them up so we can keep those good employees. And so that's let me also talk about where we're holding the line. And this is still just in 610, the main budget. We're not asking for other extra employees either. We're just trying to increase the ones we have. As a matter of fact, some of the things we've also done to hold the line in that division is when I came in, our furniture, some of our offices were just terrible. We actually found out that the MLK building was going to be vacated. And so we actually moved, instead of buying new furniture, we have moved old desks. We cannibalized the MLK building to try to get some of our folks to have better desks than what they had. We had actually had employees help us stain some of the desks and move things around. And so we've done what we can to try to help morale and help our employees without actually costing extra money. Trying to think of what, let me also address while I'm talking about that, in the child support division, we have the courthouse on Main Street. And basically since 2007, nothing's been done to that courthouse because we were supposed to be moved out. We are now working, and the county's done an excellent job recently of trying to get us out of there. We're looking at moving to the Uptown building. And my understanding is with that move, we actually might save money on expenses with maintenance. And also the move itself, especially once we consider the county can sell that property, it might actually save, or the county actually might make some money off of that move. So we're excited about that and we're moving forward. We've been working with the architect and the owner to get out of the Main Street building and move to the Uptown building. Let me go to now, I think the last thing, primary budget to talk about, and that's the one I was here on last week, and actually it's on the docket or on the agenda today, and that's for the detention center. I'm asking for a roughly 4% raise in the detention center, And the way we've based that is our detention officers do basically the same thing as the sheriff's correctional officers. Sheriff is now bringing his correctional officers in at around $54,000. They're also, they have a deputy corrections officer, which is an 18 to 20-year-old, and they're bringing them in at $50,000 with a $3,000 signing bonus. I just want to get our entry-level folks up to the same as the sheriff's entry-level correctional officers. As you all probably know, we're regulated by DCS. So in some respects, we actually I think our officers have a more difficult time than the sheriff. There are certain things we can't do that the sheriff's office can do. We have OC spray, but that's it. That's the only thing. That's one of the main things that we can do to break up fights, to keep things under control. And so I think it is a dangerous job. It is a difficult job. And so I would like for us to at least be on par with the sheriff's office. And then that what we've also done, and kind of what Commissioner Graham was asking about earlier, I think, of the sheriff, is that we've weighted that so everyone would receive that same percentage of increase as our lowest paid employees, or as our lowest paid correctional officers. We do have some kitchen staff that would still be paid a little bit lower because they don't deal with the same issues. We are also not asking for new positions in the detention center. I have asked Jim Hart of CTAS. One of the first things I did was got him involved, and he's doing a free study for us in the detention center to look at facilities, staffing, everything there. Unfortunately, doesn't have that done yet. But as of right now, we're not asking for any additional staff. We're going to hold where we are. Some of the things we've done to try to save some money. We still use a 1997 Jeep Cherokee to transport kids to the doctors, to hospitals. I had a 95 Jeep Cherokee in law school, and that thing was dead when I left law school. So I'm amazed that ours is still running. It caught on fire apparently last year. We're not asking for a new car, but we have gone to the sheriff, and the sheriff has actually given us one of their older transport vehicles. And so we're excited. So it'd be no cost to the county. We're going to get a transport vehicle that doesn't catch on fire, hopefully, that we can transport safely. We had a kid we had to bring from Johnson City. We couldn't go get him because we were afraid that car wouldn't make it. So we're like I said, we're getting a vehicle from the sheriff. We've recently replaced a broken window. Our superintendent that you all saw last week actually did it himself. So we saved us about $3,000 to do that. He has done a lot of that type of work and will continue to do so as long as he's there. So we're holding the line both in not asking for new people, and we're continuing to be as frugal as possible with the county's money and still run a good facility. And if you all, I don't know if you all look at them or not, but the grand jury, every time they've come for the last several years, have said, we need more money in the juvenile detention center because the staff is great, but the facilities just need some upgrades. And so that, coming back to the 450 there, 100 of that is for the audiovisual in courtrooms 2, 3, and 4. The other 350 is for upgrades to the juvenile detention center. And I'll be honest, that 350 is a placeholder because I'm still waiting on Johnson Controls and Jim Hart to tell us what all we need and some of the expenses. And so I put that as a placeholder just so we could have something there that you all could be looking at, so we could continue to upgrade the JDC that's not really been upgraded in about 40 years since it was built in 87. So that's, and then where are we transitioning? I think we're transitioning somewhat in the JDC to be more up to date with our control panels. I don't know initially that that's going to save any money. I think it's going to make our kids and our staff safer. I don't know that it'll save any money. Otherwise, there's not a lot of transitioning that we can do. A lot of what we do is person to person. And so AI can't do that. Technology can't do that. We're meeting with families and kids and working with them daily. And that's just something that's going to be hard to transition away from that. I do think that you all approved a renovation to the front part of the court recently, and we were very happy about that and hoping that's done within the next couple of months. That will give us more space, and I think it'll make things a little more streamlined, but I don't think it will ultimately save a whole lot of money. So with that, any questions?
Okay. Any questions? We'll see no lights. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for the breakdown.
Yes.
And appreciate it.
Yes, thank you all.
Thanks. Okay. Lee, that concludes, is that correct? That concludes our finance meeting. We'll begin our regular meeting here at top of the hour. Is that smooth?